This is Linda and Brenda McCoy. We are co-authors of a spiritual autobiography called The Living Code, Deciphering Life's Spiritual Messages by Learning to Live from the Heart. And it's our journey of how we connected with Divine Spirit over 25 or 30 years ago to let it start leading our life, because our life, we were so unhappy with all the challenges that we had going on. We actually had to turn within and just start listening to the inner guidance. And our book is about how we did that, and then how we help the reader to do the same thing that we did, so that you have a permanent link with your own inner divine guidance system, your higher self, your soul, whatever your term is for that.
And I want to share with you some of the chapter titles that we have, and maybe just a brief overview of some of them. In writing this book, the book is about an actual process, and the first part of the process was actually becoming what I call spiritual discontent, and that's when our spirit is in turmoil. And as I mentioned this to Brenda, what came to my mind was a story as a child. We were raised in a fundamental background, Christian background, and as a child, we had an inquisitive mind and pondered things, and we asked our mother, well, is our neighbors going to be saved and go to heaven? And her answer, frankly, was no, they're going to go to hell. Well, this started our spiritual discontent. This did not feel right in our hearts. So that is where we talk about in the first chapter of actually coming out of the fog of that. And the second chapter is followed up by our spiritual discontent became so intense that we actually finally gave everything up and put it aside and said, God, you show us the way. In other words, we didn't look to our mother anymore. We didn't look to our pastor or preacher or whatever. We started saying, God, we want to talk to you direct, and that's really what our book's about. So then, and the third chapter was, how do we talk to God? And how do we listen? And so that chapter leads into what are some of the ways that we do it. And that's where Brenda comes in with chapter 4 on the waking dreams.
Yes, and then in the chapter on waking dreams is really that, and as I mentioned already, that communication system. It's a key component of watching or paying attention to your life, taking responsibility for your spiritual growth, and for your life in general, where no one is a victim of life. And so taking that responsibility, then you start paying attention. And the waking dreams is one. We have a 24/7. We can get messages during our daily life. Everything has messages if we just learn to decipher and to read that. And it's not work. You know, it becomes fun and life becomes exciting. Then we follow that up. We talk about dreams, how interesting, how important dreams were. You know, that was one of the first things that started me on my spiritual journey in my middle 20s, after that time of discontent that Linda was talking about, is dreams were vital. They gave me so much information and guidance. It was still going within and internalizing. We talk about why does life play reruns? The main question there is, why does this keep happening to me again? You know, and I think that challenges keep happening so that they eventually wake you up and you go, there's got to be a spiritual solution for this. And we all know that every challenge has within it the solution, the spiritual solution, for a better way to look at that. How can I perceive this differently? Then we talk about cliches that hold us captive. What you say and think really is important. It really affects your life. You become what you keep thinking about. Even the Bible said, as a man thinks in his heart, so he becomes. So whatever you dwell on, fear, love, worry, doubt, any of that, your life is going to reflect that. And then we do talk about, one of the key chapters is the importance of a relationship, how to have the perfect relationship. And that's with anything. We're always in relationship to everything. And one of the sublines of this chapter is karma at first sight. So that's something to think about in relationships. We always think about love at first sight, and then when that relationship changes, then we go, what happened? Well, what if it was karma at first sight? And then it serves a spiritual purpose, and growth comes from that. So, and then the last chapter is putting your spiritual house in order. And that's all the great exercises that you can use for any challenge that happens in your life, for you to find that interconnection of the 24/7 hotline with divine guidance.